Today we're going to be doing a nice little spiritual analysis of Doja Cat, singer, rapper, producer, artist, and creative, very polarizing figure who likes to stir up controversy, honestly, effortlessly. I don't even know if she really tries in the public sphere, right? To do this, we're going to first look at her psychology of the mind. Then we're looking at her astrology to analyze the karmic patterns and the spiritual evolution she's meant to take in this incarnation. And then finally, the alchemy, the transformational process I would recommend to her if she were my client working with me. So first, psychology, light versus dark. What I mean by this is that we all have light and dark qualities. Some call it the conscious, the persona aspect of ourselves, and then the shadow, the darker subconscious aspects of ourselves that holds our traumas, insecurities, anger, fear, hatreds, dark secrets, all that. The reason why I mention that for Doja Cat is because she very much embodies both the light and the dark. She has, songs like Say So, and then I'm not sure what the other song is, but she kind of dresses up as the devil. So she's willing to kind of play both sides, the light and the dark. And she's still figuring it out. I can see that she's kind of, experimenting with how she wants to present herself or who she truly is as an individual. She's going through certain growing pains and a transformational process that I feel like could use a little bit of refinement. And we're going to get into why when we go to the astrology part. But she is relatively genuine in the way that she presents herself, and that is commendable. And her ability to embody both aspects of herself is something that most people shy away from. Most people only want to lean towards the light or at least present it, and she's willing to say, nah, screw it. This is me, and if you don't like it, get out of my way. Or go somewhere else. I don't really care. Talented. She can sing, rap, produce, write music, right? Dance. And I'm sure she could act if she really put her mind to it. She is a jack of all trades and a master of few, and also really, in my opinion, at least, makes really, really good music. That's subjective though, it depends on who you are, but she's reached a level of success that can't be ignored, can't be denied. She is pretty much an A-list rapper who makes hit after hit after hit, able to keep her finger on the pulse of the collective unconscious and what it wants, especially when it comes to social media, which she's very, very good at utilizing to spread her music, to spread her vision and her art. Finally, polarizing. We kind of talked about that with the light versus dark. It's kind of why she's polarizing, is because she's willing to embody both aspects of herself and to show the darker shadow sides of herself. People who are willing to do that, people like Donald Trump, people like Pablo Escobar, trying to think of somebody maybe in the public sphere, maybe even Andrew Tate, willing to embody certain negative characteristics that the general public is not okay with, can really energize people and bring a lot of attention, whether it's good or bad. Even the Paul brothers also comes to mind. That ability to push the buttons of the collective is something that is a double-edged sword. It's not always going to benefit a person, but it makes somebody very attractive isn't the right word, but noticeable. How about that? So let's go to the astrology now. So Doja Cat actually has a very similar chart to myself. And that will probably lean into some of the bias I have because I can see myself in her a lot. So some of the things that I say can be attributed to myself as well. Not everything though, because we do have different suns and moons. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. So my sun's not here, I'm not a Libra, and my moon is in a different spot. But the main point we want to really get into, always with these videos, if you've seen before, the South Node Ketu, North Node Rahu axis. This is the path of our consciousness, the path that we take in the chart to spiritually evolve. South Node is where we are most karmically comfortable, where we have spent many past incarnations, and the North Node is what we need to develop in this lifetime, this incarnation, to balance out the energies. Because we're too Ketu heavy, wherever that Ketu is, South Node, we're too heavy there, and we're too light and underdeveloped in the Rahu North Node axis. So she has South Node in Aries in the 7th house. So what that means is that she has had past incarnations where she's had to work through power dynamics. And Aries is all about the strong dominate the weak, and the weak bend to the strong. It's rats and cats. It's also about long-term visions, inspirations, that fire, individuality, paving your own path, doing your own thing, and doing your own thing, not caring what other people think. Doja Cat's pretty good at that. She's pretty good at, I'm gonna do me, I'm gonna embody myself, and if you don't like it, I don't care. That's Q2 in Aries. But it's also in the 7th house, which is partnerships, other people, the public, sex, and relationships or partnerships, business also. So that means that in her relationships with the public, with her partners, in business, right? Even in sexual relationships, she plays out a power dynamic. And that doesn't always mean that she is in the power position. She might be in the submissive position. It just means that that's the way that she perceives those interactions, is from a power dynamic of there's a stronger and a weaker. And sometimes she's in the stronger position and sometimes she's in the weaker position. And if she encounters somebody stronger than her, she bends and submits. And if she finds somebody that she perceives as weaker, she takes that power position and maybe does whatever she needs to do, dominates, right? But in this incarnation, she's meant to go towards Libra, which is all about equal exchange, social exchange. It's the merchant, the businessman who has something of value, gives it to somebody else to get what they need of value, right? This is something I'm also developing in this incarnation. So learning how to work with other people in win-win situations. Instead of saying, screw off, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I don't care what you think, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm going to take into account what the other person thinks, or get the things I need, not having to do everything myself, but being able to get what I need from somebody else by giving up something of value that I have that I don't need. That win-win exchange. She has Mercury here, which helps. It intensifies her intellect, but it also means that she's still figuring out how to experiment and to properly move towards win-win scenarios, because there's going to be the fallback to Aries. We always fall back to our Q2, our comfort zone, whenever we feel threatened. She also has Sun here, which expands. It's an ego identity. It's our soul nature. It's our core being. When you have Rahu there, it makes a person be perceived as larger than life. Also, can create illusions. And so there is a level of fakeness in the persona that she presents. Rahu Sun is, Trump has a Rahu Sun, to give you an idea. But also, because you have Rahu North Node and Sun, a malefic, with another planet, Mercury, that also means that there's a shaming. That means her Mercury is being shamed. So that means growing up, because the Sun represents our authority, our father, patriarchal energies, the masculine. Growing up, she felt small or belittled or ashamed about trying things and failing. So there's going to be a fear of experimentation. There's going to be a fear of trying new things and failing and observing with detachment, because it was belittled and devalued when she was growing up by authority figures, by the masculine. I'm not too sure what her father's relationship was with her when she was growing up. I do believe he was not much in the picture. And even though he might have not directly affected her negatively, that neglect, that absence does create a level of shame. It feels like you're not being observed by authority figures. And so that's going to give her that rebellious spirit. She wants to push up against authority figures because she doesn't trust them. She doesn't trust the masculine. And so she's going to revert back to her more dominant Aries. And then interactions with the public. 7th house can also be an indication of fame. That's where you feel comfortable. Interacting with the public or other people, depending on the person. So the main thing that needs to be healed in her chart to help her move forward is that shaming of Mercury. So she needs to learn how to let go and experiment and try things and fail. And also let go of her need to push up against authority figures. Learning how to trust authority figures to reach win-win scenarios. How can she do this? Through the alchemy process. Self-love. people talk about self-love and it can be a little abstract, but a tangible, practical version of self-love, very straightforward, is just taking care of yourself, self-care, treating yourself like somebody you love. So putting, destructive substances in your body, not self-love. Talking bad to yourself, not self-love. Putting yourself in toxic relationships, allowing yourself to be used and abused, this is not self-love. So for her, healthy diet, that includes not just food, but also substances and also content, information that she's absorbing, energies she's absorbing in a material sense. Healthy sleep, this is something that's very underrated. The way that we treat our sleep, we're looking at screens before we go to bed, we're staying up late, drinking alcohol, working late at night. I struggle with this, constantly wanting to be productive, even though the day is over and not accepting that. Taking care of your sleep is so, so important. Connecting back to source for 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours every night is very, very important to be able to properly move through the world in three-dimensional space when you're awake. And then finally, healthy relationships kind of goes without saying. The way other people treat you is how you treat yourself. And so you can observe how you're treating yourself through the relationships that you have with other people in the external world. So putting good things in her body, taking time to rest and sleep. She has the time because she has the money. And then also taking the time to cultivate healthy relationships, which is more difficult as somebody who is so high profile because you're not really sure who's using you. But using the external people in our life, the relationships, to see as a proxy, okay, how am I treating myself? Well, how are my friends treating me? How are my family treating me? How are the people that I'm allowing into my space treating me? Because that is what I believe is okay. So drawing those boundaries is important. It can be a problem for people for Libra suns, because they're so socially oriented. Meditation, to go inside of herself and to settle down, to really access her inner child and emotions, and learning how to sit and be with herself, not constantly moving. She's somebody who's mentioned that she's ADHD. Most creatives are, so I could have already assumed that. Also that she raps in the way that she presents herself. She's very fast paced. Needs to slow down, meditate, look inside of herself, and just be. Finally, solitude. So because she has that Ketu in the 7th house, there's a difficulty of being alone. The 1st house signifies the body, yourself, solitude. I kind of forgot to mention as well during the astrology, because she has that Mercury, a shamed planet in her 1st house, that means there's also going to be self-consciousness. There may be some shame surrounding her body and a belittling of the way that she looks to herself, because she's still trying to figure out who she is. And she's experimenting with her image and the way that she presents herself. That's the 1st house, right? So, there's going to be some insecurity there of wanting to always look good or wanting to present herself as this powerful figure with Aries energy, when it's best to move towards a more humble, chilled out energy for her in particular. It's not for everybody, but based off her astrology, based off her energy, based off her whole vibe, it's best that she kind of calms down and smooths out the edges and also learns how to be by herself. Something that I'm also learning myself, being by myself. That's where you learn about yourself. That's when you can learn to connect with the parts of yourself that need healing. And for her, that is very, very important. Anyway, thank you for your time. Would love to hear your comments or your own analysis. If you would like to share, cheers.